Welcome to the lift. It is noon. It is Tuesday. And I have to tell you something. I was a little nervous about going on live. What, me? I'm talking about public speaking and I'm feeling nervous about going on live. Woo! All right, I admitted it. Hey, half the thing about going on live or public speaking is actually admitting that you might have nerves. When you just put it out there, it's like, okay, it's out there. It's out there. I put it out there and guess what? I feel awesome. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to keep it clean. Hey, listen, I am Pat Laurie and welcome to The Lift. This is my show where I lift you up. I inspire you. You tune in because you need a little inspiration. You need to be lifted. You need to learn how to love yourself more on video and public speaking and possibly in life. Let me ask you something. Do you believe in trouble dolls? Do you believe in dream catchers? Do you believe in rocks? I believe in rocks. I've got a whole bowl of rocks right here. Have you ever hidden under a rock? Really hidden under a rock? I have. I hid under a rock for a long time. But I crunched up all those rocks and now they're really small. And now I'm not hiding anymore. So I am out here because I know that a lot of you are suffering from wanting to go on, wanting to be a public speaker, wanting to do videos, wanting to make that difference. But there is something stopping you. There is absolutely something stopping you. So you are actually waiting for permission. And I know who you're waiting for permission from. You are waiting, because this happened to me, you're waiting to get permission to actually go on and go live. Or you're actually waiting for permission from yourself to say, it's okay, you can do this. So I'm trying to encourage you today to give yourself permission to say yes, because public speaking can change your life. It can change your career. It can change your business, and it can change all kinds of things about your confidence and the way you are showing up. So today we are going to talk about a little bit about my journey. I want to show my credibility here, because I know a lot of you look at me and say, Pat, you've lived your life in front of a TV camera as a reporter, a host, a journalist, a documentary filmmaker, owner of a production company. You've been in front of the, public forever. Well, yeah, I was in front of the public. I was in front of the public telling stories, being a reporter, being a spokesperson, being a host, but actually not being a public speaker, which is different, because I take this very personally. Public speaking to me is my mission and being able to get out my message to the world. So believe it or not, that journey did not start 30 years ago. That's right. That was my first year in TV, 30 years strong. It started very recently. And I have to say that I hid under a rock for a long time, even when I was in television. Even professionals get super scared about going on and putting themselves out there. It's a true fact. Listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I work with people in high positions, and I work with entrepreneurs that are just starting out and wanting more visibility. But the fear is universal. It doesn't matter if you are a CEO or someone that wants to start a business, a budding entrepreneur. It doesn't matter. We all go through these universal fears. Hey, Gabriella, thanks for joining. The universal fear is not good enough. And, the imposter syndrome that we all sort of go through when we're trying something new, when we're exposing ourselves, when we're putting ourselves out there. It's like, am I good enough? I don't know if I'm good enough. And even when I was a reporter at the top of my game, I would still look at myself and say, who am I to be delivering this news? And I had this moment that blew up to be this big thing in my head. And I don't want that to happen to you. That's why I'm talking about public speaking. That's why I'm passionate. That is why this is my mission, to talk about public speaking, because I too, even as a television news reporter and a host, was scared to death to go on television. So how do I show up at a job when I'm scared to death to go on television? Well, I hid under a big giant rock. It was no fun. And it happened, and it stayed that way for many, many years. I just didn't believe in myself. Suddenly something came over me where I was feeling judged by my colleagues, and I felt like, wait a minute, who am I to be the expert? I'm not the expert. I mean, I'm just, Pat Laurie. I'm just, a girl with a journalism degree telling everybody else's stories. But I mean, I don't really have the credentials, right? So I started to doubt myself, and I started to feel like I wasn't good enough, or that I would, freeze up. And this is the most bizarre thing, because some of us who suffer from fear and anxiety of going on camera, my fear was actually afraid of looking nervous on camera. Can you imagine that I had a fear of looking nervous? It wasn't even the fear of like, am I going to get the words wrong? It was, I don't want to show up and look nervous. Is this anything, is this resonating with anybody? I mean, the fear of looking like, what if I swallow? Yeah, I'm going to swallow because my throat is dry and I'm scared to death inside. But guess what? I have to appear really confident on the outside. But guess what was happening on the inside? I was falling apart. I was feeling fraudulent. And I was like, I can't do this job anymore. And I just don't want anybody to suffer from that. So that's why I'm talking about the need to expose yourself in the most beautiful way, in the most kind way, in the most go for it way, by going after what you want. It is time for you to do this. It's time for you to show up and for your voice to be heard. Your voice is important. Listen, we all want our voices to be heard. Who doesn't want their voice to be heard? You might not want to admit it to others. You might want to be one of those introverts. I teach a lot of introverts. But even introverts want their voices heard. And of course, a lot of introverts are CEOs, believe it or not. I know that might come as a surprise to you, but it is true. So when I decided to actually go for it, I will never forget, I was having lunch with a colleague. Her name is Lisa Lelis. And she said, I'm a member of this group, the National Speakers Association. And I said, what's that all about? I hadn't even heard of it. This was just a couple of years ago. So she told me about it. It's an organization, and we have a Connecticut chapter, the NSA Connecticut chapter. So I said, wow, I think I want to get involved with that, because I want to learn about public speaking. I want to finally wrestle this monkey to the ground and get over it. And because the only way you're going to get over it is actually I have those tips coming up. I'm going to tell you tips, and I'm going to tell you some of the most amazing things that have happened to me by going on. But I met with Lisa Lelis. We were sitting across from each other. We were having coffee. She told me about the NSA Connecticut, and I said, that's something I want to join. And I joined it, and I went through their little public speaking, little public speaking school. No, it wasn't little, but in my mind, I made it little. You know why? Because I crushed that fear down to a little thing. And I was like, I'm going for it. And that's what you have to do when you want to tackle something that becomes this big blown out scary monster in your head. You got to crush it down and make it really little. So maybe that was an appropriate word, but I joined the NSA Connecticut's school, where I learned about public speaking. And people would be like, why are you joining the school? Because it's like, you were in TV for 20 years. Well, I needed to go. I needed to learn the art and the business of public speaking. So I went to the academy. I went to the NSA Connecticut's academy, and I gained confidence. But at the end of that, gained a lot of things. But at the end of that journey, I had to give what's called a SAS talk. So I had to get up and do my first public speech. Now, I had only given one other public speech in my life, and that was when I was in my 20s, and I was a news anchor, and I was sort of like an MC in an event. So I was excited because I was doing my first public speech. I was nervous, but to me, I wanted to put 2 feet in the ground. I wanted to stake my claim in the ground, and I wanted to do something that was going to be epic. I didn't want to just get up there and teach someone something. I wanted to get up there and I wanted to be vulnerable. I said, if I'm going to go for this, I'm going to be a speaker that is going to be real. I'm going to be an authentic speaker. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to lay it all out, and I am going to talk about some things that are really personal. But I had to, because if I'm going to be a speaker, I want to move lives. I don't want to just speak. I want to be an agent of change. I want to be someone that can spread my message of hope, of overcoming, of persevering, of actually naming your fear and making it really small. So I got out there and I told a real personal story about actually my divorce. And I even cried during the speech, which I wasn't planning on it, but I was just trying to be authentic. And trust me, I lost my place a couple of times. And I even had these index cards that I was like flipping while I was telling the story, but it was straight from the heart. It was straight from the heart. And that's how I operate now. And I would encourage you to operate straight from the heart when you speak, because when you speak with passion, well, that's when you can really move people. That's when you can really affect change. But how do you get there? Well, you get there by being vulnerable and telling stories and letting go of the outcome. I let go of the outcome. I stepped in with 2 feet. I cried. I lost my place a couple of times. But darn, did I feel really awesome after doing that. It was like a triumph. And people gave me feedback. They said, Pat, you really made me feel that moment that you talked about, that very personal moment in your life. You brought me there. And I brought them there because I told the story. And stories transport. Stories have a way of connecting with people. Stories are the way that you need to start speaking in public. I'm going to tell you the top things that public speaking has done for me, okay? And how it's changed my life. Because that SAS talk that I did with the NSA Connecticut, I think it was 3 years ago. Well, I did that talk and then I didn't speak at all until 6 months ago. Well, actually, maybe it's 8 now. Whenever the pandemic started, it feels like it's an eternity, right? But when the pandemic started, I just said, I started going online and I started speaking. And I said, I got to get over this. And you know what? I was totally scripted before the pandemic began. I would teleprompter everything out. I was like, okay, I'm going to get the whole script down. I'm going to teleprompter it out because I can't show up and just kind of like wing it, you know? So I said, goodbye, teleprompter. And I started being myself. And boy, did things really change. I became more confident and I decided to show up unapologetically as myself. That's right. All kinds of things happened. When you decide that you love yourself and you're going to be authentic and you're tapping in, open heart with your emotions, connecting, magical things happen. And so it gave me a lot of visibility. I now have an international audience. I'm doing training internationally. I have international clients, not just individuals, but companies that I'm teaching. This morning I woke up, I got a text. I got actually a message on LinkedIn from somebody in Germany. And they said, Pat, thank you so much for that training last night. You really inspired us to show up and be ourselves on camera. And when we're doing Zooms and when we're doing public speaking. And you know, that really means a lot to me because without this pandemic, I would not have an international audience. So that's another reason why you need to start speaking on video and publicly speaking. And this is the way we're publicly speaking, right? On video, because you will get an international audience. Now I have a lot of people. I've got people from New Zealand, from Canada, from Switzerland, from Germany. I interview people all over the world, right from my living room. It's amazing. So that's what it can do is it can broaden your audience. And when the borders open up again, you bet I'm going to be getting on that plane and I'm going to be like, maybe I'll go to Switzerland and do my speech there. That would be fun. Okay. So, but listen, more than international exposure, what it has given me, and this is my mission really, is improving the lives of others and having my message touch someone else's life. And someone from Switzerland telling me, Pat, I have had this monkey on my back for so long, and you helped me to finally squash this thing and make it really small. Thank you very much. That's why I'm doing this. This is my mission. This is why I'm doing it. I'm serving others so that you don't have to go through the fear and the pain and the anxiety and the shame that I went through. Because I don't want you to go through 20 years of hiding under a rock. I don't want you to try dream catchers. I don't want you to shoot trouble dolls on the table and have them, determine your fate. I don't want you to take anxiety medicine. I don't want you to do any of those things. What I want you to do is believe in yourself. And that is step one. Another thing public speaking has done for me is it's kept me motivated and it's kept me wanting to keep creating through COVID. I am a creative person. I'm a video storyteller. This is my life. I tell other people's stories. I have to keep some kind of story going in my life. And my story is finally getting my stories out, talking to other people, imparting my wisdom, just like you can be imparting your wisdom when you go on camera. Don't think that you don't have value to share. Only you know your story. You know your story so well. Share it. So probably the most important reason why I'm doing this is because I am fulfilling my legacy. I am helping to fulfill my mission to create a body of work that matters when I'm gone. I need to create that legacy for myself. I'm doing it for selfish reasons too. Of course, you have to do it for yourself. You have to know your why. I want to have a body of work. I want people to know my opinions. And I want to know your opinions too, because they matter. So start creating your legacy. How are you going to do this? I'm going to give you some tips right now. I hope you have a piece of paper. Are you enjoying this? By the way, I am seeing comments. And my NSA family, they're so supportive. They're all tuning in and they're like, go Pat, go Pat. That's right. And if you want to, by the way, become a member of the NSA Connecticut chapter, nsact.org, check it out. I am telling you, it'll change your life. It'll give you everything that you need to get started, and not only that, it gives you the support of others who have been there. And that's what I really appreciated, was learning from others that have walked that path before, that have had those same fears and dreams and desires and hopes, the things that keep them up at night. And the give back is incredible. The camaraderie, you get so much back for being in the group. So definitely consider that. But here's my tips. Here are my tips for getting better at public speaking. You ready? Okay. I want you to decide that you are good enough. That is my number one tip. Decide that you are good enough. Once you make that decision and you truly feel it in your soul and in your heart and in your spirit, that will get you on the right path. So decide that you are good enough. Number 2, let go of the outcome. I heard Brene Brown talking about this recently. She said, let go of the outcome. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. You got to be like, I'm going for it. And you know what? No matter what happens, I'm doing it. Could something go wrong? Could I potentially look like a fool? What if people start to judge me? You got to let go of that outcome. So decide that you're good enough. Let go of the outcome. Number 3, hold on to why you want to do this. Your why is very important. You need to attach to your why. Why are you doing this? Hold on to that why. Now, you can have all of this, but if you don't do the next tip, well, it doesn't matter. You need to decide to take action. You need to take action, right? Decide and do. Don't just think, wouldn't it be nice someday? That someday is today. Decide and do. You can think all you want, but if you're not doing, well, then you're not putting any forward motion, right? So what are you doing? You're still sitting on that fence, teetering. Woo! You just fell off the fence. I'm back. Hi. Yeah, that's right. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere because I've decided that this is where I want to be. So jump in 2 feet and be passionate. Okay, my next tip. Practice, okay? Practice and record yourself. Practice. If you record yourself, right, the repetition will improve your reputation, right? If you're worried about your reputation, well then, what do you do to get good at anything? You practice. So repetition, practice, roll and record, and review. Don't live in a vacuum. Ask other people for feedback. So roll, record, and review. Does it seem like me? Nah, you seemed really nervous. All right. I get it. And that's natural. Forgive yourself. Please forgive yourself. That is so important. Okay, my next tip is teach something that you are super comfortable with, something that you know. Because when you can teach something that you're comfortable with, you're automatically going to have more confidence. So I'm not talking about something that you need to memorize. I'm talking about something, and keep it super simple. What is one of your superpowers? What do you know, like the back of your hand? I don't know the back of my hand, actually, but what I do know is confidence, and I do know myself, and I do know my values and beliefs. So talk about something that you know very well. That way you won't worry about, reverting back to a script and it being perfect, because perfection, well, that is going to kill you. Perfection will absolutely kill you. Goodbye, perfection. I'm winging it now. All right. So teach something that you are super, super comfortable with, and tap. This is my next tip. Tap into your authentic self, because you are not a presenter. You are a human being that's given somebody some information. You are not a presenter. You're not in presenter mode. You're not in, that mode. You're not an announcer. You're a human being trying to connect with other human beings in a very authentic, natural way. So stop trying to be a presenter. Okay. You're not a presenter. And if you think you're a presenter, well, then you're going to come across as a presenter. And guess what? That's going to be a disconnect. So stop doing it. Just be yourself. Yourself is so much better than a version of the way you think you should be. Now, of course, there are tricks to upping your performance when you go on video, but just try to be that authentic self. Okay. So tip number 8, look at the camera. Yeah, I know I say this a lot, but look at the camera. I really mean it. I really mean connect with that camera. It's okay to look at your notes, but literally look at that camera as much as possible and connect to it, because you're talking to another set of eyes, another heart, another beating heart, another breathing person right on the end of that camera. Can you feel that breath? So get feedback. That's my next tip, is get the feedback. Get your trusted circle, your little mastermind, whatever, the group of people that you work with, your colleagues. Get some real feedback from people you trust in your inner circle. That's super important, because you can't do it in a vacuum. You can't do it in a vacuum. And I would say my last tip would be to get a mentor, because you need accountability. You can't do this alone. You can do it alone, but it's a lot more fun with accountability and a mentor and someone that can guide you and someone that can help you, someone that's been there before. I mean, you can do this, of course, because you have to just decide and then do. But accountability is important. And that's where I come in to help my clients and help people that are CEOs, entrepreneurs, every level of expertise, people that just want to get better but need that accountability. Because when you have someone calling you up and saying, "What have you done for me lately?" You got to be accountable, right? So when you're accountable, you have skin in the game. Just like Tony Robbins says, right? Skin in the game. Hey, Brandon, thanks for being here. So when you're accountable, it's like, uh-oh, I actually committed to doing something. I better do it, because then I'm going to be a fraud and I'm going to be a liar, right? So get accountability. And if you need help, I can certainly help you. I would love for you to join me in this journey of self-empowerment, really. And I really want to hear your story. So I hope that you have decided that you are good enough and that you have value to share. And that, you know what? It's not going to be a pretty little package at first, but that's okay, because pretty little packages are just nice to look at, right? But what's the message inside that pretty little package? It's the authenticity. It's who made that beautiful product, right? That pretty little package. What's it all about? What's in that? Let's untie that. Let's unpack that. What is it all about? So get rid of the outcome, get rid of the income. Oh, that's another benefit of going on video and speaking. Of course, it's going to grow your influence. So don't wait any longer. I believe in you. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys have an awesome day, and believe in you, because you're awesome. Cheers.